Hello, I'm Becky McCormack, and I'm blessed to serve as the lay leader at Chapin United Methodist. It is my pleasure to welcome you back to campus. You know, for 3 months now, we've been worshiping online, and I know you feel like I do. It will be a wonderful thing to be back together. As our servant ministers, you play an important part in what takes place here on Sunday mornings. And with our return to worship on June the 14th, I just want to say in advance, thank you. Thank you for being willing and being available to volunteer and help create a worship environment that's going to be both pleasing to the Lord and will keep people as safe as possible. Now, this short video that you're going to watch will give you a sense of how we're going to serve each other on Sundays. Please know that your flexibility, your patience, and your desire to serve the Lord make a huge difference. So on behalf of the church leadership and the entire congregation, welcome back.
Hello everybody, it's Marcy here. Today we are recording a short video for training for our First Connection folks so that you can help people as they return to in-person worship. So we're going to go over all the things that you'll need to know when we come back on June 14th. Now we're starting out here in our lower level lot. Folks that come to our lower level lot will be parking here and then only using this entrance to the sanctuary. As you can see, we have this area blocked off because we don't want you entering that way. Our children's building will be closed for a while, so we want you to park in the lower level lot or the on-grade parking. Now when you come in, we do want you to head into these lower level sanctuary doors and not use this outside stairwell. That entrance at the top of the stairs will be closed as well. Or you can head around to our on-grade level parking. You can use this lot here, and if you have passengers to drop off that need to get a little closer, you can use this area here to unload your passengers and to allow them to get back in your car. We are narrowing our entrances and our exits to just 2 doors. This lower level door to the lobby, and then this double door area. So as you come into the sanctuary, the first thing you want to do is head to our First Connection room. So no matter where you're serving, this is where you want to start. You're going to come here and check in, let us know you're here, and we are going to let you know where we need you to serve. So many of you checked the box that you'll serve anywhere you're needed. You can come in and you can pick up a mask if you don't already have one. As we have said, masks for our volunteers will be mandatory. That is just one of the things for safety that we are requiring that you do. So if you don't have your own, you can pick up a mask in this room as well. You'll also pick up either a lanyard or your name tag. Now in the past, you've come and dropped them back off here and left them here to keep, but for safety reasons, we don't want to have to clean all these name tags and lanyards after you use them, so you will keep them after you serve. We are going to have one of you stationed at each restroom and allow one family at a time in our restrooms. Also, we're shutting down the water fountains for obvious reasons, so we will not have that available as well. And there's plenty of signs letting people know, but part of your job is to help them understand why we're doing this. One thing that you need to know is that we will have plenty of hand sanitizer stations as well as giving boxes. So we will not be passing the plates for obvious reasons, but we'll have giving boxes where people can drop in their tithe, and so you'll want to tell them that so they know. We've cleared off our information wall. There's nothing on here for people to take. They can still get all the information they need on our website. So if someone's asking you for information, you refer them to our website. We also won't have Guest Central out. You won't have a bulletin to hand out, but you will be welcoming them to our church. So one of the things that you'll also do if you're working this door is that you will have people come to this beginning of the door and ask them to wait to be seated. As people come into the sanctuary, we are going to seat them 6 feet apart in our pews. And that's very important for us to maintain that social distance. So as they come in, this is the order in which we want you to seat people. Now we're going to leave our first 2 pews empty because Jody's going to be at the podium and we want 6 feet distance from him as well. So you're going to start out at these 2 center sections and we're going to start with the second pew. You'll seat this first family here. And then based on the size of that family, you can come 6 feet over and you're going to use your best judgment and seat the next family 6 feet over. Now, it depends on the size of the family. You might be able to get 2 sets of families here, or you might be able to get more than that, just depending on the size of the family group that you have. Then you'll want to skip a pew and come to this next pew. Now again, to maintain that 6 foot distance, you don't want to be directly in front of somebody because this actually isn't 6 feet. So you'll want to stagger. So if you put your first family here, you'll put your second family here. And then again, you'll go 6 feet over. Now we'll start with these 2 center sections, but to continue to maintain that 6 foot distance with our servants, the person who's working this section will come down the center aisle. The person working this section will go over here to that next aisle so that you are also not running into each other. They'll do the outside, you'll do the inside. Same thing over here, they'll do the outside. Now once we have these 2 center sections filled with as many families as we can, then we'll move to the outside 2 sections. Now people will want to sit in different spots, but that's going to be part of our job as our First Connection team to welcome them and say, this is the process that we're using for your safety as well as ours to maintain that 6 foot distance. Now once all of the floor has been seated, then we move to the balcony. And the reason for that is we just don't know how many people will show up this first day. So if we don't have enough, we may not open the balcony. But if we do, then we'll move into the balcony and we'll use the inside entrance to the balcony, not the elevator. As you'll also see, there's no Bibles, there's no hymnals, there's nothing in the pews. And again, that's for your own safety. All that information for connecting and red pew pads that you would normally sign, all that information will be available online. Once you've seated everybody and service is about to begin, we have chairs placed 6 feet across all along the back. So one of the things you want to keep in mind is you don't want to seat any of the congregation in these chairs because they are for you. Now for dismissal. Now as you seated people, we started at the front and worked our way back. We started in the center and worked our way to the sides and then worked our way to the balcony. For dismissal, we're going to do the exact opposite. And Jody or our worship leader will give instructions to people before we end the service so that everybody doesn't get up and start leaving, because then we lose that 6 foot distance again. So we're going to start with the balcony. They are going to be dismissed first. Then you're going to start at the back and work your way forward, releasing people 1 pew at a time. You might be thinking, what happens when the sanctuary gets full? What we are going to do is our lead usher for each of our worship services will have a walkie-talkie, and then the greeters working both entrances into the sanctuary will also have a walkie-talkie. Once the sanctuary has filled up, our lead usher will radio the 2 folks working our double door entrance to the sanctuary and our folks working the lower level doors to the sanctuary. They will be told, close the doors, and now we're sending people to an alternate worship space because the sanctuary is full. Down here at the lower level, we'll reopen the staircase, and folks, instead of going into the sanctuary, since it's closed, they will be routed up the stairs to come into either the fellowship hall or the fusion. And same thing with our double doors. Those doors will close and people will come around the corner to get to the fellowship hall or going into the fusion center. So at 9 o'clock, the fellowship hall is our alternate worship space. So the person who's going to be working this door, you'll obviously greet people, welcome them, thank them for coming over to the fellowship hall. Apologize that the sanctuary was full, but we again want to maintain our social distance, so we have a space here where they can still participate in the worship service. However, this is the entrance, but we don't want them to go in until we're ready to seat them. So now we're in the fellowship hall, and just like in the sanctuary, we will be seating people. So the way you want to start here is all the way to the left. And you want to start all the way there and then work your way this way. That way we're not walking in front and losing that 6-foot distance between anybody. As you can see, there are clusters of seats. And we have these clusters set up in 4 or 5. But often people will come as 1, 2, or 3, depending on the size of your family, potentially even more. But if you don't fill up a cluster, if there's 1 person or 2 people or 3 people, that cluster then remains full. You don't want to sit anybody else in a cluster except a family that came together. Okay, so now that the service is over, how are we going to dismiss? Well, we're going to dismiss through 2 exits. The exit you came in, and we're also going to utilize the back exit. So everybody in the front will exit the way they came in, and everybody in the back can utilize this back exit. However, we are still going to be responsible for dismissing them so that we can maintain that 6-foot distance. We'll do the opposite. Start with the last people that you sat over here. They will dismiss, and then we'll move forward like that. And then somebody in the back will do the same thing. Those closest to the exit will get dismissed first, and we'll go all the way through till everybody has safely exited this building. We are now in the Fusion Center. Ideally, this is just the overflow space for 11:15. Once the sanctuary gets full, our 11:15 folks will come here. However, at 9 o'clock, if we fill up the fellowship hall, we will then open up the Fusion Center if we have more people. And also at 11:15, if we fill up in here, we will then use the fellowship hall. So our primary space at 9 o'clock, if the sanctuary fills, is the fellowship hall. And this is second. Our primary space at 11:15, if the sanctuary fills, is Fusion, and then fellowship hall is the alternate space. Now we'd like to have both entrances open from the outside into the Fusion Center. So we'll have folks seating people on this side and folks seating people on this side. And same thing as was in the fellowship hall. So dismissal. Dismissal will be, again, the opposite of how we sat people. So we'll start at the back and dismiss out and then continue and continue so that we maintain that 6-foot distance and we're utilizing both of these exits. Now keep in mind that we are not using either one of these inside doors because that leads to the administration building and that building is closed. So if someone needs to use the restroom, they're going to have to go over to the sanctuary or go over to the fellowship hall. All right, First Connection team, that's our training video. Thank you for sticking it out to the end. I know it was quite tedious, but at least it gives you an idea of what to expect when you come in so that you can help our folks who will be coming in as well. You know, this is going to be a very fluid process where after this first week we may learn some things from how we planned it, and that Sunday we may alternate things a little bit depending on how it flows best. If you have any questions at all after watching this video, please do not hesitate to call me. Thank you so much for serving during this time. We love you guys and can't wait to see you again.